Presented by Caltech.
Now, it is my great honor to welcome back to campus Dr. France Crdova, National Science Foundation Director and one of our alum. After leaving Caltech with a doctorate in physics, Córdova embarked on a distinguished scientific career that began at Los Alamos National Lab. There, she worked as a staff scientist and deputy group leader in the Earth and Space Sciences Division before moving on to chair Penn State University's Department of Astronomy and Astrophysics. Then in 1993, Dr. Córdova became the first woman to serve as NASA's chief scientist, a role that she held until 1996 when she was named Vice Chancellor for Research at UC Santa Barbara. Dr. Córdova went on to serve as Chancellor of UC Riverside and also President of Purdue University. Then in 2014, she was nominated by President Barack Obama to lead the National Science Foundation. As director of the NSF, Dr. Córdova oversees the only government agency charged with advancing all fields of scientific discovery, technological innovation, and STEM education. Among Dr. Córdova's many accomplishments at the agency was the 2015 launch of NSF Includes, a national initiative to broaden participation in science and engineering among historically underrepresented communities. In her own words, we are richer for the diversity of our culture, knowledge, and viewpoints. Her own scientific contribution have been in the areas of observational and experimental astrophysics, multispectral research on X-ray and gamma-ray sources, and spaceborne instrumentation. Please now join me in welcoming Dr. France Crdova.
Good morning, class of 2019. Congratulations. Thank you, Chairman Lee, for that very nice introduction. President Rosenbaum, members of the Board of Trustees, faculty, administrators, honored guests, family, and friends. It's great to be back home. To the undergraduates who make up the class of 2019, to all the graduate students about to be awarded with masters and PhDs, congratulations. I'm honored to share this day with you. Four decades ago, I was sitting where you are now, and I was so proud. My parents were in the audience. Some of my professors were sitting on the stage. I was able to succeed at Caltech and in my career because of their support and belief in me. Even so, some of them would be surprised to see me up here giving your commencement address. I have special memories from my time here as a student. It was one of the most important times of my life. What distinguished Caltech for me was that the professors worked hand in hand with the students in the laboratory, at the observatory, and in the field. There was a spirit of adventure, of discovery here, of sheer joy at being the first to see new phenomenon like new rings around planets, pulsations of stars, and solar systems in the making. There was a feeling of wonder to hear of new elementary particles from Nobel Prize winners who were among our teachers. It was an environment in which to grow, learn from imaginative individuals, including our fellow students, to work long hours and play long hours, learn to do things on our own and make our own mistakes, and relish it all. I hope that some of this sounds familiar to you graduates. I hope that you have enjoyed your Caltech years. Yes. I'd like to share with you 3 things that I took from my Caltech experience. These shaped my goals, my pathway, my choices. The first is about Caltech's legacy in basic research, its value and its impact. Recently, an alumnus pointed me to a Time magazine article from 1955. On the cover was Caltech's president, Lee Dubridge. The article was full of photos of Caltech leaders, including Robert Millikan, Caltech's first president. Some things are different today. There are many more women in STEM at Caltech. But some things haven't changed. For those of you from Ricketts House, there's a nice photo of it in that issue and a description of its famous pranks. And I know your co-student body president, Mohar, will agree with that. The article was entitled The Purists, because Caltech has been devoted to basic research or pure research since its founding in 1921. Basic research is what brought me here in the mid-1970s. Cosmic X-rays had recently been detected, and they pointed to the existence of black holes and neutron stars. What could be more exciting, I thought, and less useful than that? In 1955, as today, there were questions from the public about why do you do basic research? We peer into the dawn of time or probe the smallest components of matter. We invest billions of dollars over decades to try to detect gravitational waves that are barely perceptible, or trek to the ends of the Earth to install detectors in Antarctic ice, hoping to catch the rare flash of a neutrino. Why? As scientists, we are called on to explain what drives us to do these things. Ira Bowen, who was in charge of Caltech's observatories at the time, gave his reason. He said, "We're astronomers for the dickens of it." I might have said it a little differently. I'm an astronomer because I'm driven to learn about the nature of the universe, how it came about, how we came about. I simply want to know. I want to know because at the end of that process of learning and understanding and assembling information, there's a moment when everything comes together and you can see something that's never been seen before. It's a eureka moment, and I've been lucky enough to have experienced it a couple of times, the first time as a graduate student here at Caltech. I inherited a love of that moment from Caltech. It's a moment of insight that touches the reality of nature. It's why I'm a scientist. It was basic research that drew me to lead the National Science Foundation, whose mission is to further the progress of science. Our history at NSF is to fund high-risk projects with potentially high rewards. I'm proud that we funded Charles Towns a long time ago as he pursued a path to the invention of masers and lasers, driven only by his curiosity about molecular interactions. More recently, we funded the fearless Frances Arnold, Caltech's first woman Nobelist. And we funded, forever it seemed, the famous gravitational wave experiment called LIGO, which led, as you know, to Nobel Prizes for Kip Thorne and Barry Barish and Ray Weiss. I've discovered in my present job, however, that not everybody recognizes the intrinsic merit of basic research. When I came to NSF more than 5 years ago now, we were facing questions from legislators about the relevance and importance of specific programs that we funded. They didn't know about the history of scientific discovery. They didn't know that you can draw a line from today's technologies, everything from barcodes to cell phones to MRI machines to life-saving drugs to the internet and Google, all the way back to a moment when someone simply wondered why and decided to figure it out. Caltech, from the time Millikan came as president in 1921, has devoted itself to basic research. And from that research have often come amazing applications. 38 Caltech faculty or students have won Nobel Prizes, and many more have won other distinguished awards for basic scientific discoveries. From that research has come, over time, unanticipated applications. Looking back in time, it's easy to see the value of basic research. Looking forward, perhaps not so clear. At NSF, we decided to imagine what the future might look like. We pivoted to a strategy that spotlights big ideas with potentially transformative returns. These are ideas that touch on quantum mechanics, the next quantum leap, we call it, big data, the rules of life, artificial intelligence, multi-messenger astronomy, and more. Areas that are on the frontier of scientific research. And that strategy paid off. Other countries are now emulating this approach. We're experiencing renewed support from lawmakers and the public. We've seen large increases in our budget every year since we've been focused on the future, focused on big ideas. And in the category of miraculous, this year, no legislator singled out our projects for criticism. I'll take that as a win. Things changed when we stepped out and fought back. We had to speak up loudly, clearly about the benefits of basic research to explain why it mattered, where and how we could envision its potential benefits. We needed to articulate a forward-looking strategy. That's a mission that will fall to you as the next generation of scientists, engineers, poets, and seekers of truth. Treasure Caltech's past legacy, your past at Caltech. Let it help you invent your future. The second thing I learned is the importance of focus. Caltech's middle name is Focus. A century of discoveries and breakthroughs and progress happened here because the institution focused on what it can do best. For those of you who chose to pursue science and engineering, it is rigorous thinking, it is inventiveness, it is tenacity in tackling hard problems and sticking with them that characterized your focus. Some of you pursued the humanities, also with laser-like focus. Some people are surprised when they learn that I got my undergraduate degree in English. Your focus can change as your horizons broaden, but it's focus that lets you know when that change is important. It's focus that lets you dream new concepts that will surprise you, and focus that ultimately sets your imagination free. Some of you have probably found your focus already, and others may be still searching, ready to explore a new focus. But don't worry, it takes time. Sometimes it takes false starts. I didn't find my focus until after I had an English literature degree. I was inspired by a public television show about neutron stars. And as an aside, I'm happy that NSF still funds public television. I had taken one astronomy course in college, but I didn't have a background in physics or math. But I had found my focus. I knew what I wanted to do. I had a vision of myself, of what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a physicist, so I dug in. I found my way to Caltech. I asked for a job with an X-ray astronomy group headquartered in Downs Laboratory. I didn't have any computing experience, but was handed a copy of Chandrasekhar's book on radiative transfer and asked to put it into code. Caltech professors allowed me to audit their courses, and I did well enough that they admitted me as a graduate student in physics. Not right away, but when I had those inevitable moments of doubt, of fear of losing focus, my friends and mentors kept me on track. My focus is what made me an astrophysicist, and I believe Caltech saw that in me, just as it saw something in each of you. When I became chancellor at the University of California, Riverside, I wanted the university to deliver more to the community. What did the region need most that the university was uniquely suited to deliver? And the answer was a medical school. With the dearth of doctors in inland California, especially diverse family practice doctors, this was an urgent need. So that became my focus as chancellor. And today, the medical school is kicking. I'm proud that it has a very diverse student body that will serve the local community. Caltech has given you all the tools that you need to accomplish great things, to solve problems no one else can. Focus is like a lens that bends everything you've learned here, your passion, your skills, to a single point that magnifies all of your efforts. The third thing I learned was to abandon the idea of myself as a lonely researcher in the basement of the synchrotron lab, working in isolation. There's somebody who knows what that synchrotron lab looks like. Today's landscape is an interdisciplinary one, in which teamwork among experts with a wide variety of disciplines matters. The landscape of mysteries and challenges is vast, and it only continues to grow in complexity. Navigating it requires us to work across the boundaries of any single science. Thinking and acting in interdisciplinary teams with a common focus, is how we can leverage what we know. Interdisciplinary science is about how we approach research at a fundamental level, as the lines between disciplines and methods are getting more and more blurred every day. The article I mentioned from 1955 included a quote by Caltech physicist Robert Bacher. He said, quote, "Nature is not physics or chemistry or biology. It's all three and much more besides." Much more besides only scratches the surface, which is why today we see an emphasis on bringing researchers together from different disciplines to address big questions and pressing challenges. It's not a new idea but it's increasingly important. When I became Vice Chancellor for Research at UC Santa Barbara, I started a program called Research Across Disciplines. It encouraged researchers to collaborate across disciplines and dream up new projects that most people would think were too high risk to fund. In fact, no agency would fund them because they seemed too high risk. But it turned out many of those projects produced important results. And after demonstrating that interdisciplinary research could be successful, those kinds of proposals were no longer high risk because people understood what could be accomplished. That was in 1996, before there was much emphasis on interdisciplinary research. And today, that emphasis has changed the way we work at NSF. We now invite researchers to think outside their disciplinary boxes about how they can tackle grand challenges together. If you want examples of how important interdisciplinary work is, you have to look no farther than Caltech itself. Just look at two of the biggest scientific achievements in the last few years. LIGO, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, and the Event Horizon Telescope. LIGO is, of course, one of Caltech's greatest recent accomplishments. Detecting gravitational waves was a task that even Einstein thought would be impossible. But Ray Weiss and Kip Thorne and Barry Barish didn't think it was impossible. They worked doggedly for decades, improving the signal-to-noise of detectors with ever-improved engineering. And all this in spite of professional skepticism about whether this would work. They engaged numerical relativists to simulate mergers of black holes and neutron stars. And in the end, they surprised even themselves. Not only did they detect a minute perturbation in space-time, but because of the numerical relativists, they identified the cosmic culprits that caused it. Binary star systems with big merging black holes. And today, with even more technology improvements, LIGO has become a true observatory, discovering merging black holes weekly and merging neutron stars as well. And when the Event Horizon Telescope team of mostly young scientists set out to create the first image of a black hole, they were undertaking a mission that needed a telescope the size of a planet. Theirs was a relatively inexpensive experiment, but it cleverly leveraged existing expensive assets, namely millimeter telescopes that already existed all over the world. Both projects also brought together teams of researchers from different backgrounds and various expertise. They required scientists and engineers who could conceive of and build new instruments and who could figure out how to combine different detectors to operate in unison. They needed computational expertise to deal with massive amounts of data and new algorithms and approaches for processing it. The history of science is full of scientists who were able to make great strides on their own. Galileo, Newton, Curie, Einstein. But the future of science is going to rely on teamwork. There are new people here at Caltech, like incoming Professor Katie Bellman, one of 200 people on the first Event Horizon Telescope paper. But even among so many, among 200, her individual contributions shown. The challenge for your generation is how to make such large interdisciplinary collaborations work and let each contributor's talents shine brightly. As I close my remarks, I want to share with you one more important lesson that I've learned. As a university president, I saw all kinds of eager young faces enter as students every year. Students spanning a huge spectrum of backgrounds, students from all over the world. and a wide range of doubt or confidence in themselves and their futures. Reflecting on my own Caltech experience reminded me of my responsibility as a faculty member and administrator. I would influence their direction by my own example. I vowed never to underestimate the wisdom of the next generation because they had clearer eyes on the future. You are closer to it, and you, more than all of us, with all of our experience, have a sense of what's coming. The view from where I'm standing now is wonderful. You all look great. I can sense your excitement. But I remember the view when I sat where you are in 1979. It was even better. It was hopeful. I was looking into the future. You are the future. You'll navigate your own path, and it will be a unique ride of discovery through the universe. You'll take with you your Caltech experience, and you'll have the compass that your family gave you to help keep you on your path. There will be detours, and there will be new opportunities. You'll have choices. You'll need to have a strong sense of your values, of what you stand for. Wherever you go, remember what brought you here, what brought you to Caltech, to this amazing place. You had a vision of yourself, the big ideas that motivated you. Hold on to that. I came here wanting to be a scientist. I let nothing stop me. Continue to think big, graduates. Let nothing stop you. Thank you.